So I'd like to welcome everyone to Google Slides and Google Hangouts with Jacqueline Calder. I know it's going to be a great session. Jacqueline is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to using collaborative and online tools. It's always great to have people from all over Ontario joining us for these OTF Connect sessions, and I'd like to welcome Jacqueline, and she's ready to go.
Thank you very much, Molly. How does my sound? Is it coming through okay?
Yep, you sound great.
Great, thank you. I'm going to introduce myself really quickly, and then we'll get started. I'm Jacqueline Calder, and right now I am a technology-enabled learning and teaching contact. Basically, I'm the resident geek in Simcoe County. I work within our program and innovation team here in Simcoe County. I'm a secondary teacher by trade and have taught things like math and science and entrepreneurship and alternative programs for First Nations and Métis students. And I've been a student success teacher in my career, and then I've spent a couple different years doing the TELT role. Yeah, absolutely. So there actually is one of, and you can see that Jamie's put in the chat there, the TELTC, the TELT, if you will. It's a role that there's one of us in every board to support technology-enabled learning and teaching. And tonight is going to be very Google-focused and very tool-focused, which is unlike what I'm used to. So this is going to be a bit of an odd night for me. I'm used to focusing on really coming at it from the pedagogy first and then talking about different tools that can help support different things. While we're definitely doing that tonight, we are really focusing in on specific tools this evening, only because they are different in terms of they're kind of the only ones that do the specific things. There are lots of different jobs for or tools that can do things like Google Hangouts, but we are looking specifically at Google Hangouts tonight. Partially because there's a lot of complication, or there's some complicated ins and outs in terms of Google Hangouts on air, and now since we posted this session, there's something called Google Meet, of course, just to add to the complication. So we're going to go through. So I'm just going to flip through a couple slides here. This is kind of what I've thrown together as a suggested agenda, where we have, we would start with Google Slides. I'll do a quick tour overview, just how to get in and like set up a Google Slide, but recognizing that when you're just watching me do it, not doing it yourself, I won't spend too much time doing it because you're not doing it, but I'll leave you with all of the instructions so that you can go in and play around once we finish the session, and then talk about some ways to make slides pretty. And then talk about looking at how to use Google Slides to create ebooks or different types of different formats, and embedding these onto other websites, either as photo galleries or as like an ebook. And then we'll talk about the audience participation feature that is fairly new in Google Slides. And then we'll look at Google Hangouts and Google Meet, which is new. And then we'll look at Google Hangouts on air. Can I get a green check mark if that is okay by you, if that looks like an okay overview, and either a red X or something in the chat if there's something that you think I've missed or that you'd like to highlight or draw my attention to, or if that sounds about right. I'm seeing lots of green check marks. Okay. Please let me know if we're missing anything, if there's something there. Okay. And as we go, I will have lots of time, and please interrupt me at any time. Like Mally said, if you put your hand up, which is the third icon over, I hear a ding, so it does call to my attention that someone's put their hand up. And then you can throw either in the chat or you can grab the microphone if you want to. I would also like to know a couple little things about everyone here. So we're going to use those green check marks and red X's again. And I always get myself in trouble because now I have to choose. I want to know how many are coming from an elementary background, how many are coming from a secondary background, and I have to choose one to be the red X and one to be the green arrow. So because I've already identified myself as secondary, secondary folks will take the hit and be the red X. And if you're coming from an elementary background, can you put a green check mark, please? Just so I can get a kind of perspective or kind of overview on who we have in the room. Great. So we are almost even there from what I can see. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm going to clear that now. We're at 13, 14, a few more elementary, which is usually the case. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to clear that. My next question is going to be a green check mark if you have used, let's start with Google Slides, if you've used just plain old Google Slides in the past. And then a red X if you are new to Google Slides. Great. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Okay. So most of us have seen it before. And then some of us, a few of us there, it was new. My next question is, who has tried a Google Hangout before? Successfully or unsuccessfully? And that's a green check mark or a red X. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So about balance for that one. When the Google Slides part, I can share my screen, and I can show you the slides and how to set up and everything from there. And I tried any possible way that I could think of to show you the screen, to do like an actual walkthrough live of Hangouts. And every way that I thought of would just cause all of our computers to kind of blow up and fizzle out, because trying to run this session here, in the OTF Connect session here in Blackboard, and into the and then have the Hangout window open as well. So I am unfortunately just going to walk you through images of the different stages for that one, and we'll talk. And I have some videos of examples with students in it, and guest speakers and that type of stuff, some videos to show you. But we'll talk really about kind of the things that I've learned doing Hangouts. I became addicted, I guess you could say, to video conferencing at the time with students, to connect them to either students or experts around the world way back probably about 10 years ago, maybe more like 8 or 9. And the person who actually got me addicted is our moderator tonight, Mally Bickley. Her and her partner in crime, Jim Carlton, who I worked with as an ICT consultant later on. They worked with IRON Canada, and they were modeling all sorts of fantastic connections between students, where students were working with other students, students were working with experts, and they were really looking at it at a global perspective. I have focused in very much on classes working with other classes, and often that happened in my examples and my things. It's been within Ontario or within Canada, some international collaborations. I'm going to put it in the chat there. Great question. It's IRON Canada. And I'm positive that Mally will throw a link in the chat at some point in time tonight. And it's an organization where they connect. There we go. Thanks, Mally. So it's kind of funny that we're working on this session tonight, and Mally is kind of helping facilitate and moderate it. So it's absolutely fantastic. Just have noticed that students, when they're connecting, the magic, I guess, is the only way to happen. The motivation and the willingness to put forth that extra effort when they start working with other students and interacting, and what they learn. And you'll see that from some of the examples that I share tonight. So I'm going to move on into slides, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the Hangouts part once we get there. So here's how you first create a Google slide. You start by going to your Google Drive. And it doesn't matter if you are using a school board, like a G Suite, as I call it, for education, Google Suite for Education, or if you're using a personal Google account. You go to, thank you, Mally. Mally has thrown that link in the chat. You go to Google Drive. And when you get to Google Drive, you go, and sometimes you have to, the first time you're going into your Drive, so you're logged in with your Google account, and that could be a Gmail account if you don't have a school board Google account. Once you log in, sometimes it asks you to agree or something like that, but eventually what you get is a screen that looks like the one, and I will show you my Google Drive in a second when I go and do a screen. I'm going to share my screen and do a little tour. and you click the blue New button. And then you go down to Google Slides, and that creates your very first, or it creates your brand new Google Slide file. So basically, what I'm going to do is a quick tour of some of the basic features. I'm hoping we've got a fair number of folks in the room today, and I know that I'm going to start sharing my screen and go do a quick tour. Mally, I'm hoping you'll yell at me if it's not working, basically, if you don't mind. So bear with me here while I shift over to sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay.
Yep, we see it, Jacqueline. Just don't switch too fast.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so here is what happens when I go into drive.google.com. And everybody, if you haven't used your Google Drive a whole lot, you're not going to see a ridiculous number of folders or files in your Drive like I have. If you have used your Google Drive before, then yours is probably a little more organized than mine, but that's okay. Something for me to do during the summer. I'm going to go into my blue New, and then I'm going to go down to Google Slides and click on Google Slides. So here is my untitled presentation. Just going to let it all load in. There we go. And a couple of things right away that you'll notice. Up at the top, it says Untitled Presentation. I can name my title. Sorry, give a title to my slide deck. OTF, call it OTF. What is it? April 24, fun. And I can put a subtitle here, blah, 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 blah. Wonderfully creative I am. And I still need to give it a title. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a whole file folder filled with Untitled Presentation. If I just tap on that, so I tapped on that Untitled Presentation, it automatically grabbed my title from right here. If I want to change that, let's say I don't actually want it to be called Fun in my file folder, then I can edit that just by clicking on it and editing it. Over to the right-hand side, I have automatically, it suggests some different themes. So I'm going to go with, I like orange. There we go. And it's going to give me this theme. And it will do that for all of my slides. To create new slides, I hit the plus sign. If there are different layouts that I want for my slides, just like in PowerPoint, I can choose them down here. So if I want something that's going to have a big number and some data on it, I can choose that. We can do 100%. There we go. People enjoy OTF connects. And because it's data and it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right? There we go. So I can create new slides. Very much from this perspective, now that I'm in here, I'm in the web. It's all web-based, so it's not on my computer like PowerPoint, but it's almost, other features are almost identical. I can change transitions. I can do shapes and lines, and there's different tools up here, different things that you can play with. You'll notice that if I'm highlighting font, some font settings come up that I can change and play with. A couple different things though. One is new is this Explore right here. So if I click on Explore, what it's going to do is it goes through and it tries to find ways to make the slides pretty. And so it'll make suggestions and you can select one if you so like. Maybe I decide I like that one better. Then I can choose that and it will change the slide to that. So it's really just going to kind of help you make your slides prettier. Here's where I choose to share, the sharing button. And let's say I want to give this to Mally Beckley. Then there we go, and I'm going to share that file with Mally, and there we go, and that's been shared. Okay. So that is a very, very basic tour of getting into Slides, Google Slides. I am going to come back into the chat. I'm going to stop my sharing, if I could figure out how to do that from here. Thank you. And I see a question here. Okay, so I have a question in the chat. Can you show some of the particularly transitions and the others? You mean you want to see how some of the transitions work? I'll wait for Cindy and I'll see, did someone have their, yes, okay. I can go take a look. One thing is that transitions in Slides, in Google Slides, are generally not quite as good as PowerPoint yet because it is still web-based. I'm just going to take a look and see if anyone's hand is up. Okay, so it was just used to get my attention. If someone else has a question, by all means, let me know. Okay, well, next time I do a screen share, we'll take a look at some of the transitions. I'm just going to, because I am going to go back in there. You missed where the Explore button was. Okay, when we go back in again, I will show you where the Explore button is. And I am going back in a couple of seconds, so don't, or maybe we should jump to that now. Let's take a look. That's right. No, we'll do it after. Okay. So don't let me forget those two things, transitions and Explore button, the next time we go back in. First of all, I just want to talk about two different web tools that could be used to help, perfect, two things that could be used to help make slides pretty. Canva.com is a tool. Keep in mind, Canva's terms of use are for 13 years and older, so this isn't one for elementary students to use unless you're working on it together. They're working on it together with you. But as a teacher or secondary students, depending on your privacy and what your parents have signed off on and what they can create, accounts that they can create, Canva is a fantastic tool to dig into to create slides. And when you go into Canva, it's a free account, and then what happens is it gives you images. So you design all your slides, you export them as images, and then you put those images into your slide deck. So Mally has thrown the Canva link into the chat. I'm going to do another screen share and see if we can't take a look at Canva and see if I can't do it without blowing up the screen. But so far the screen share seems to be working okay. So give me 2 seconds here. Oh. Mally, I've messed it up. What did I do? I've got to... Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Do you see my slide deck now?
You are now on your screen, I believe.
Perfect. Okay. So if I go to, so we see Canva now, a bunch of create a design and a bunch of signs. Okay. Let me know if we don't have, if you don't see what I'm doing. So I'm in Canva right now. I had to create a free account. And when I come in, I'm going to go up to the More. And the reason I'm going to go to More is because up at the beginning there was the one presentation, and you'll see there's different size presentations. And I'm going to show you in a second how to change the size of your Google Slides. And if you're going to use regular sized Google Slides, then this picture is better. If you're going to use the HD shaped slides, then this one here. And when you create a new set of slides, what it does is it gives you some automatic layouts. So you can choose any of these. I'm going to say, and you'll see the little white free over top of them. And it's kind of probably hard to see on the screen share, but spend some time playing with Canva later on if it's something you're interested in. You'll see the little white free. If there's a little white free, it means it's free. And then if there's a little dollar sign, it means it costs $1. And when you check out, when you go to save your images, it will charge you the $1 if you've used one image. If you use multiple images that are paid, it'll ask you to pay the $2. I have used the free images and stuff so often that I have made a concerted effort now to use the paid ones every so often, just because I feel like for them to make some of their money. That's just a personal choice that I've made, is to selectively choose some of their paid stuff. But sometimes I find it hard to actually find, because they have so much free, that it's that useful. So far this one is entirely free. And you can change different things like the background and the filters on the images. You can change the text. And then what you can also do is add new slides, and you can change things like the background. So if I want to change the background for this slide here, I can do that. Or maybe I think, no, I like that one better. I can just select them over here. And again, I'm selecting from the free ones, and you can see how many there are. There's lots. I'm going to go into different elements, and let's say I'm going to go for an icon. And sometimes it takes a while to find the icons that you want when you have something specific in your mind. Let's go for a globe. Sure, it's a little bit busy on that screen right now, so maybe I'd go back to my background and change it to a plain color of some sort. I can add text as well. And there are all sorts of different things that you can bring in. And then when you're done, you download, and you can do it as a PDF or as images. And you can bring those images into your Google Slides.
Jack, there's a question. Can you search for icons?
Yeah, you can search up here. So here's the thing for searching, and this is how they get. This is, well, smart really. If I search for globe, all of the unfree, in this case, a bunch of free ones came first. Okay, I just totally lied. Usually when I've done a search, all of the paid ones come first, and then the ones that are free come later. But in this case, they've actually given me all the free ones, or many free ones first. So yes, you can totally search. Sometimes it just takes some kind of hunting through them. Any other questions about Canva popping up there?
Nope.
Awesome.
Not yet.
So it really is just something to play with if it's something that you're interested in creating some fancy slides. I'm going to close this one now, and I'm going to need to save it. I'm going to come back in. I hear the dinging going. Let me just stop sharing. Okay. Okay. Cindy, did you have a question? You had to grab the mic or the chat, either or. You wrote it, sorry. Show how to download it and put it into slides? Sure. Okay. I will do that. Okay. Okay, I am going to go back into that design. Remember, I'm on a Mac, so it might be a little bit different on a PC if that's what you're using. I'm going to save these as Jpegs, just because I want to. It's going to download them into a folder on my computer that's going to be zipped. I'm going to download them. And I always get a fun quote while I'm waiting. Okay, so I'm just going to download them. I'm going to remember what that's called, the Guide to the Endangered. Okay, save that. On my computer, it saved it to my downloads. I am going to open up my downloads folder. It might be a little bit different on a PC, sorry. I'm going to go to the guide, unzip that file. Okay, so now it's giving me, I unzipped that file. I have this file now and has picture 1, picture 2. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to go into that slide that we created here. I'm going to create a new blank slide and a new blank slide. And I'm actually just going to drag that picture over. And I'm going to actually make that full size. There we go, that's better. And then we'll go into the second one, bring up my documents, and drag over the second one. There we go. So and even now it's going to start this Explore. I'm going to close this Explore window. So down here is where I see the Explore.
Jack, there's another question that says, does Google Slides for iPad have all the same features?
Google Slides for iPad have all of the same features. I'm going to plead some ignorance here because they've been changing it consistently over it has most of them. It started off where it didn't have them all. The commenting features didn't work. A lot of the some of the transition stuff was a lot different, but they've been working on it and there's been updates consistently, so I'm going to plead some ignorance and say I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I don't know if every feature is the same, but I do know that lots of them are. And your workflow on an iPad would be a little different. There is a Canva app. You would have to save those photos to your photo roll, and then in your slide, Google Slides on the iPad, you'd have to insert an image and then bring it in that way. So a little bit of a different workflow. Here's the Explore tab right here, or you also found it under Tools, Explore. There you go. And now let's take a look at the transitions. So transition, I can fade. I can apply that to all my slides. So now if I presented it, it has a fade. And I can choose different slides here. Slide from left to right, from right, from left, flip, cube, gallery, and or add an animation. Okay, any questions about those two things? Okay, I am going to, while my screen is still being shared, the next tool I was going to show you is Slides Carnival. Slides Carnival creates or shares templates galore, and you can use these for either PowerPoint or Google Slides. So I'm going to go into this one. You can search them up here. You can look at all the templates, and they've got all different topics. Really, you have to search. And then I'm going to go into, I'm going to go into this template. And here is a quick look at it. And if I scroll through it, it'll show me what some of the different slides in this template look like. Sorry, it keeps jumping into the screen as I shift the slides. And so I can look through it and decide if I really want it or not. And then if I do, below it, don't click. Do you see all these download? Those are all ads. Do you see how it has the little AdSense or ad choices and that up there? That's someone trying to get you to come to their product instead. So make sure when you are on this site that you look for the template, look through it to make sure you want it, and then you can download the PowerPoint template, and then it gives you some instructions for the Google Slide one. And it tells you to open up the template, make a copy of it, and put it in your own Google Drive, and then work with it from there. So I'll just show you that process. So I'm going to use the Google Slides theme. And basically what it takes me to is it takes me to a view-only version of their template. And you can see there's people from all around the world probably looking at this template too. So I'm going to File, make a copy. Sure, I can call it copy of Solero. And it puts this in my Google Drive now. So while it's doing that, I will take you into my Google Drive. And we'll scroll down. And ABC, copy of Solero, right there. So that's where it put it. It did open it up too right here. And so now this is my file. I could change that name to April 24th OTF Fun if I was going to build my own slide deck in it. And so now I can change the title to OTF Fun. This instructions, it gives you information. I'm going to actually just delete that slide. And it says hello, and it's giving you some information. And I could delete that text or add in my own information, and you can use these. And you'll notice that it's adopted the template. So if I want to add in a new slide, it will give me a blank one with the same template now. So I could delete all the ones that are already pre-filled and just use these ones up here if I wanted to. Or I mess around with it and play around with it. But it's another tool for making pretty, oh, I meant to show something. For pretty slides, there's lots of different things. And usually at the very end, they have a slide deck. Here we go. At the end, they always include one of the slides in there for credits. And it says special thanks to the people that made these resources for free. And they talk about the stock photos that they use and the slide deck. always leave that slide. If you're going to delete all the other ones that are pre-populated and use blank ones, that's fine. But make sure you keep the credits there. And that if you are presenting somewhere, that you show it at the end while you're chatting or saying goodbye and that kind of stuff. Because again, it's another company that is providing some, obviously they're making money off of ads on their site. As I said, these ones have the ads here and they're trying to get us to go there. But they also have shared everything openly and free. So make sure you are providing credit where credit is due, because we use templates from somewhere else. So I'm going to close these tabs now because I've got 800 open and I am a little worried. And then I'm going to come back and see. There we go. Stop sharing.
Yeah, Jack, there's a question.
Okay.
Question
Thoughts, questions?
If I create my slides in Canva, then import them to Google Slides, can I modify them once they're in Google?
No, because it's coming over as just an image. You know how I drag and drop that image over? Once it's done, it's done. And the links don't work. And so like right now, yeah, it's a definitely something to consider. The people I work with get really frustrated with me when I create all my slide decks with Canva, because we, as a team, our program innovation team, we reuse each other's slides and each other's content all the time. Except if I've got just an image, they can't change the date that I put on it, or they can't change the, whatever it is. So like my name, if I put it on it for contact. So yeah, it is a bit of a pain that way, but it's also a good way to make it, easy way to make it look pretty. So it's a decision. Even if you make a copy, because what you're doing from Canva is you're bringing in a picture, and a picture can't be changed, edited. Sorry. Okay. You can delete it, but you can download it again from Canva always. So, using Google Slides as in a different file page shape or for something different. A couple of different thoughts or ideas is that some people take a Google slide deck and they put pictures on all of the slides. So no text, no information, just pictures. And then they embed it onto a website like a blog or any other kind of website, or they share the link. And that lets them have a photo gallery, essentially, like a slide deck. I'm just going to read Mary's question here. Can you add the slide template from Slides Carnival into the themes in Slides? It will automatically show up on the slide deck that you're working on in the themes area. So I think that's a yes. Ask me a little different if I didn't quite answer that. I think I answered you, but I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. So some people will take a photo, like put all just slide images on their Google slide deck and then put it on a website, and it turns into like a photo gallery that you can scroll through. And another thing I've seen people do is their students are creating ebooks, and there are different ebook creator tools out there, but they cost money, or they want to, export it as a PDF, or they want to embed it on a website and people can scroll through the different pages. You can do that in Slides too and change the shape of the slides. The slides don't have to be that same size. You can change them to any size you want. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Before I do that, I'm just going to take a look because I noticed some questions coming in. I actually had to close my eyes while I finished talking so that I wasn't reading the questions and wanting to answer them at the same time. So I'm going to take a look at them now. While you're showing the slides in Carnival. In Slides Carnival. Oh, I wonder if some of them in Slides are paid. The ones that I saw were all free. Slide Carnival. Yeah, it says they're all free. I'm wondering if maybe I clicked on a different link. I'll do another quick overview. Also have the video from tonight to review and take a look and see how I did that. Yeah, give it a try and let me know. But will it stay in the themes for a future presentation? Let's take a look. I don't think it'll stay there permanently. but it will stay in there. Import the theme. You'd have to I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I think what you have to do is you have to take the Slide Carnival, export it as a theme, and then import it as a theme. So not automatically. It would require some work. To be honest with you, what I usually do is I usually just save a blank copy of it, and I make a copy of it and use it when I'm going to use that theme, if I'm going to use it again. Will I always have to use the template from my drive, or can I find it in the theme? So I think that was the question I just answered there. I think you guys are both asking on the same thing. So I will investigate the easiest way to do that, but I think that unless you export it as a theme and bring it in, you do have to go back to the Google Drive file and do it that way. Okay, I'm going to show us how to set up a custom size. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so let's go back into this one here. Okay, if I go File, and I go to Page Setup, automatically I can see that I'm in widescreen, and I usually work in the widescreen just because my computer fits this side, and most projectors, not all of them, are kind of that HD. I could go to standard 4:3 or the different widescreen, but custom is where some of the power lies. And here I can choose whatever I want. So if my students wanted to create like the equivalent of an 8:10, then it's going to create it like that. And it will change the shape of it, and you can work within it. And now what I can do, so now it's kind of like a book-ish shape. It's 8:10. I can File, Publish to the web. What that means is that I'm taking this, what I haven't shared yet, although I might have shared it with Mally when we were playing around, but other than that, I haven't shared it with anybody. And it's putting it out there on the web. They won't see all of this Google Docy stuff. They're just going to see the slide deck. So I'm going to go File, Publish to the web, and I can either get the link or I can get an embed code. If you don't know what an embed code is, it means you don't need one. If you do know what an embed code is, once you start to, like if you have your own blog, if you have your own website, if you use something like D2L or the VLE provincially or Moodle, where you can bring in things that you embed on your website, then you can grab the embed code here and place this right on your site. If you don't know what it is, then it means you don't need it, if that makes any sense. And you can just share the link. So I'm going to choose that the slides auto-select or auto-advance, maybe every 5 seconds. I could have it start as soon as the player loads. I don't think I will. I will have it restart. And I'm going to hit Publish. Are you sure? Because I'm making it public, so yes, not that anyone will find it. And then I have this really long evil link, and I can copy that link. I'm just going to go into another browser window. I'm going to paste, so if it was somebody else, they would see this, and that's what they see. And they can scroll. It'll change every 5 seconds once I hit play, or I can scroll through it myself. And that transition, that fade transition is even in there that we played with earlier that I forgot about. That picture looks a little funny on the 8:10 sizing, and I can go back through them that way. I could even use my little wee if I was showing it to a class. So that's that big long link. So I could paste that link anywhere. I could save it. I could post it in a class like Google's Classroom, D2L, a OneNote. I could post that somewhere where my students were all the time, or I could open it up myself or share it, send it out, and do things. I'm going to close that now. I'm going to close this now. And I'm going to come back into the window and see what kind of questions we have. Okay. Can they copy it? Not from there, they can't copy it. Let's go make sure. I'm just going to, while we're chatting here, let's see. They might be able to open it up in Slides. No. No, they can't do any printing or anything from that one. So that one is just a viewing. I am going to show you how to export it as a PDF, though, if you wanted to share it. So let me just go back to sharing my screen again. Sorry, I meant to do this in the first place, but I totally forgot. Okay, so I'm back in there in my Google Slides, and I go File, Download As, PDF document, save that, and then when I open it, now it's a PDF. And I can, just like any PDF, when we open it, we can print it in that way. So there's two different ways to share that. I'm going to stop sharing here, so hold on a second. There we go. So there you go. So that way you can send it as embed it on a web page, like a blog or a school site, where folks can look at it and just scroll through, or you can send it as a PDF, or both, and do it that way. Questions, okay. I got the Jan Robertson, can you copy or download it? Print it, yep, same thing. Oh, okay, someone else is talking, someone else has answered someone else's question. How is the printing quality from the Jpegs? From Canva? Yes. Yeah, you got it, Kara. So there's different sizes. They have print quality and they have online quality. And they're pretty good. If you had a video to your book, does it also play? If you click on it, yes. Awesome. Okay. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. Not too bad. One last thing with Google Slides, the new presenter and question and answer features. So I am going to share my screen again. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to close this one. I am going to, I'm in today's, the slide deck that I created that I then exported as a PowerPoint that we have in our Blackboard Collaborate session tonight. So let's say that we were all in the same room, or afar like we are tonight, and I was going to start presenting it. Really, it works better if we're in the same room. I click Present. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing, sorry. The little drop-down arrow beside Present. There we go. And I'm going to go to Presenter View. I'll show you the difference here, actually. If I click Present, it takes over my full screen, and it almost looks like that embedded version that we had on my website, and you can just scroll through and do what you want to do this way. Sorry. If I click Presenter View, the little drop-down, and click this instead, I get this pop-up window. So this window went into presenter mode, but this window here gives me a couple different options. I can see what's coming next. It's timing me on how long I've been on the slide for, no pressure. And then it has this audience tools. So a couple things to consider. If you're on your projector, students see this too. So you have to do what you do here, or the audience sees this. And then you click back to this one so that they're just looking at this one. And then I have to go and find that window again. There we go. Because it is separate. But it does give me a way to jump to different slides, to preview what's coming up next, and of course to time myself. The audience tools. This is where it's fun. So audience question and answer. I'm going to start. Okay. My accepting questions is on. I'm going to copy this link. I know, Mally, I'm sorry I couldn't give you this link in advance because it gives me a different one every time. I'm going to paste this link in the chat, and I'm going to ask if any of you have the multitasking ability with your computer, whatever device you're using, to go to that site. So if you can go to this Google /slides KFS2ASR, then what you can do is type in a question. While you're doing that, I am going to pull up a different window and show you what that looks like for those of you that can't do it. So this is what it looks like. So in my classroom or my presentation, the minute I selected on, my shows right here. There we go. Look at all of you that have added in questions. You guys are awesome. And I have that window there that I can turn to in between. But I keep this up most of the time for my students, and right at the top of that page, it gives them that link. So everybody in the audience in the room that I'm with sees this. People that are, and if they enter that in, as many of you have already figured out, this is what you see. Here's the kicker, I can do this anonymously. Right now I'm not signed in this web browser, and I can be an idiot and type things that you don't want, bad words, and submit it. And I will find my little window, and you'll see that that actually came in. There we go, as anonymous. So that's the hazard. But thinking about the hazard, they're all in the room with you, right? Unless you did it digitally like I am right now and sending this link to FAR virtually. Everyone's in the room with you. So what I can do is I'm going to take, this is a great question. So I really like Melanie's question. I am going to click Present. And what it does is it takes her question and it puts it on my slide deck. So how easy is this to do in front of students? Does it require switching back and forth between devices or screens? And that is a fantastic question, and because I'm sharing my screen with you, I will show you exactly what it involves. It involves me finding that little window that I closed, it blocking part of the screen while I'm looking through so they can see all this on the projector, and finding the different things that maybe we're going to have a great conversation about coffee. And I can do it that way. But here's where some of the power is. In this, I'm going to go back and pretend I'm a student now. So we're looking at this, and I'm going to take the top 5 questions. Okay, that's way too many questions. The top 2 questions. I would like each of you who are in there, if you don't mind, to go in and click the thumbs up on the question you most want answered. I'm going to click on this one. Oh, how come I can't? Is it because I'm not signed in? Let's try signing in. Well, I can't do it without broadcasting my password everywhere. Oh well. Okay, some of you, when you were signed in, I'm assuming you could thumbs up and thumbs down. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to look, and this one has been done 4 times, perfect 5 times. Great idea, or great question. And then that one. Perfect. So let's go and take the one we talked about this one here, and here we go. That's a fantastic question from Cindy, and one of it is to some students aren't willing to either ask questions or to provide their input. This doesn't have to be questions. So thinking about a class of students and having them brainstorm some ideas, having them. Maybe you watched, maybe in your PowerPoint slide deck, you watched a 3-minute, 4-minute YouTube video, maybe a part of a TED Talk that was talking about some science that was a little bit beyond the students, beyond what they had learned already or been exposed to. And so you know that they're kind of going and having questions about it, but it's an engaging topic. So I'm thinking of an actual example that I've done in the past where it was a video, a TED Talk about deforestation in Borneo. Another project I worked on with Mally actually, and my students were going to end up doing a whole entire biology unit, my grade 9 science class, on deforestation in Borneo and the impact on the climate change around the world. And so there was a question that talks about orangutan habitats disappearing, and it really got them sad and upset and in tears, and then it goes on and it starts talking about all sorts of science stuff, and it's using words like monoculture, and it was talking about palm oil trees that they had never been exposed to before, and all sorts of things like that, and policies, and they didn't understand all of it. So they all brainstormed questions that they had about the science. And then we kind of pulled those all together, and we looked at And then we decided we were each going to take a question or two, each group in the class, and research it and then come back and share it so that we could really understand more about the issue. So they were determining the questions, and funny enough, they actually picked all of the questions that we had to do in the curriculum anyways. Fantastic. So they had to look at monoculture, and they had to talk about all like biodiversity. So it was fantastic. So you could use something like this to have them either give you information and ideas, brainstorming things and thumbing up ideas, or the other way around, asking questions and then selecting them from there. Or just to get questions from students about the content that you're talking about. So there's a couple different possibilities there in terms of that. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back in here. All right. Hey, no problem. Great idea, Jen. Awesome. Templates, good. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If I've missed anything, please let me know. And Mally has put the deforestation. So that project I was talking about, deforestation in Borneo, is part of a deforest action project that is fantastic through taking it global. Another fantastic organization for youth that they do run some activities that are Make Perfect. In my case, it was a provocation for a whole science course, and it worked out perfectly. Because part of the, anyways, it was a fantastic. So Mally's put a link in there. Yeah. Oh, and perfect. So it's been a couple of years since I've done it, but Mally's posted the link to that project in there. Fantastic. Having Mally here tonight, absolutely wonderful. Okay, so that's the question and answer and the interactive component. Any thoughts or ideas about that? Yeah, we'll save the chat. We can show you. I'm not sure. Can everyone save the chat, Mally, or do we have to save it and send it?
It works. So Jan, if you want to see what's in the chat, you can just go through the recording again. But all the links are going to be sent out tomorrow, if that helps.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to skip all this because I did it in a... Maribel, I'm not sure. Student interactivity options in the in the presenter view. I'm so sorry. No, I can't find a way. I'm sorry, I have not found a way. Let me just do that. Go back and just make sure. Yeah, no, I was looking yesterday everywhere actually to try and find a way, but I can't. So, yeah, you could totally screenshot questions. The other thing I'm just trying to do right now is I can copy that whole chat. Like in my teacher's notes presenter view, I have a list of them all. I can copy it, and then I could paste it into a Word document or something. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting on here so for bandwidth. Okay. Yeah, I wish there was another way too. This was pretty new. So fingers crossed that things are only going to get better. Okay, let's talk Google Hangouts. Unfortunately now, I can't do the screen shares. If I put a link in tomorrow, are the questions still there? No. Like if you stop the session and then start it again, they're gone. Google Hangouts, I can't do the screen share once we start talking about these, so I have screenshots galore. So it's like, this is the longest slide deck I've ever put together before in my life because it's all screenshots. But let's talk about some of the Google Hangouts. Let's see. Okay. So I'm just going to grab this link here. Sorry, 1 second. You start Google Hangouts, plain old Google Hangouts from that link there. And this is what happens when we get Mally talking about taking it global and deforest action is I beat her putting the links up in the screen. Never does that usually happen. She's usually all over. See? She's usually all 2 steps ahead of me. But we got her distracted with the deforest action. So Google Hangouts, if you go to that link and you're signed in with your Google account, you get something that looks like this. And it can be complicated looking. On the left-hand side in the red, are all of my conversations that I've had with people or am having with people. And you can see from my picture that, although it's a little fuzzy, that it's either with one person or it's with a whole group of people or it's with a couple different people. And there's a green plus at the top if I wanted to start a new conversation and I just type in the person's name or their Google address actually, and then it sends them an invite to join a conversation. On the right-hand side in blue is what those conversations look like. And without looking at the other features, you can see at the bottom, send a message, and it just looks like an instantaneous chat. So I know a family that uses this as their family chat because they all have different types of devices. So they all have a Google Hangout chat group, and they just chat all the time like this. So that's just like the basic of Google Hangouts. And then what happens is we want the video conferencing part, right? It's kind of the exciting part here. You can access Google Hangouts. This is how it's getting confusing nowadays. Two different ways. Within that blue window, within a chat, so I'm in a chat, it's actually a chat with myself. It's to Jacqueline Calder. I was just to get the screenshots. I have my personal Google account talking to my work Google account. It's not my proudest moment, but it was how I decided to get the screenshots. And I can click on the people icon if I want to invite more people to this group, or I can click on that video camera icon. And that video camera icon will create a hangout for the people in this group. Does that make sense? If I want to start a whole new video call that has nothing to do with any of my groups, I have to use the video call in the middle. So I am going to show the difference between those two, but first what I'd like to do is give you a video of Google Hangouts introductions from a project that I did last year. So this project, there's a link in the chat to a YouTube video, and it's a project I did with 20 some odd different classes, and we did Hangouts all throughout the semester, and we had a couple different Hangouts at a time, and this particular video is just clips of them introducing themselves. So nothing of the content of what they were hanging out for or any of the actual guts, just the introductions. But look at how the students are portraying themselves and look at some of the different stuff. I am going to zip my mouth for about maybe 2 minutes. I don't want you to watch the whole video. It's like very long. So I'm going to kind of zip up for about maybe 2.5 minutes and just give you a couple seconds to click on that link and watch that YouTube video. So I'm going to mute my mic right now. The YouTube video is in the chat. Just take a look at the students introducing themselves, and then we'll have a brief conversation about that. There is a method to my madness and why I want to look at this. So I will be quiet now and let you take a look at that video. Okay, can I get a green check mark when you've had a chance just to watch maybe a minute or so of that? If you got a chance to take a look at that. Awesome. Okay, so anything stand out, and kind of thinking about either the technology or the students, envisioning it like if you had the same kind of thing happening in your own class. These ones, especially the first half of it, were all secondary. The second half are elementary. Yes, the possibilities are absolutely endless to come to connecting. A couple things strike my mind looking back at this group in particular, or these groups. One is the giggling in the background, the uncomfortable factor at the beginning, and the nervousness on looking at them. These were entirely different students by the time we were done 4 or 5 Hangouts together. The confidence built as they went. They were as nervous as the teachers were to make all the technology work. We had more glitches at the beginning and things cutting out and having to say, what did you say? At the beginning, it took quite a while to get going, and they were terrified, especially some of the younger ones, to come up and talk. But they built the confidence as they go. Perfect. I'm going to answer those questions in 2 seconds. Another thing you can notice with the Hangout is all of the little windows across the bottom. And you'll see that every person participating has either a black screen with their name on it, and that means their camera was off, or it has, you can see a little picture of their classroom, a tiny little thumbnail of their classroom. What else was there from this one? I think that's about it for the introductions. Let me take a look at the questions. Okay, how do I find other classes to hang out with? This is the kicker. So you can do things like work with Iron Canada, taking it global, and join global projects. There are other projects out there as well, and I will add some to the resources for tomorrow. I put a few, but the other thing you can do is through Twitter. You can try to find classes or those teachers who you share ideas with, and you build on each other's ideas. So the project that we just took a look at the beginning of there is craft reconciliation from last year, and I worked on it with a teacher from Wikwemekong who teaches on Wikwemekong at Wikwemekong High School. And her and I, on Twitter, would challenge each other and push each other's thinking, but we knew we had similar values. So for her and I to do a project like this, it made perfect sense. Jamie is referring to PLN, which is a professional learning network, which is really good at helping you out too. That's fantastic. What other ideas got shared up here? Yeah, ask for Twitter. Yep. For Allison, for participants, Google Hangouts now has a limit of 25, I think. And so you can share, and I'm going to show you how to share, add more people. You can share that many up to it, and they just join into the room. I think your only barrier would be bandwidth. So if people are getting kicked out, it's bandwidth on somebody's end. How did they know whose turn it was to talk? There we go, Jen. Fantastic question. I was facilitating. That is a clip where I've taken screenshot, or short clips from like 4 different introductions video. I facilitated them all. I don't have a class because I'm working in as a TELT in my board right now. And so I said, okay, and now we will hear from this class, this class, this class. And I cut myself out of all of them for this one. But that was what we did with this many students. If you were just connecting with one other student, you don't need that. If you're connecting with a bunch of students, it works great. And you bring me to another couple of ideas. One is the mute your mic rule. Your mic is always muted unless you're talking, which seems like it makes sense, but we often forget it. If we don't have if our mic is on and we're not talking, any movement in our classroom can pick up that mic. Kids shuffle. Classrooms are noisy places even when they're quiet. A shuffle in your seat, a scraping of a chair on the floor. So we always muted our mic unless we were talking. Always, 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 because it meant that the people actually talking had full mic powers without being cut out. We also had we started a rule in all of these Hangouts sessions that I facilitate where students put their hands up in front of the camera. So if I see that one of the classes has just a hand, I don't see their classroom anymore, just a hand in front of the camera, then I know that they have a question or they want to build on someone's idea. So then I say, okay, and PSS, it's your turn. You guys want to build on that idea. I'm going to look through any other things here. Great. Okay. So I am going to go through a couple of the steps. Now, I'm going to fly through these steps here. You're not going to be able to walk away and say, oh, perfect, I can turn around and do my Hangout now perfectly. You might have to refer back to the slide deck when they get the email tomorrow. And I put the link to the slide deck in the chat at the end too, actually, so that you can have it tonight on the Google Slides version of it. But I put it in step by step, and I'll show you quickly the slides, but I'm not going to stop and you're not going to be able to follow along step by step because you can't do a Hangout and be in Blackboard Collaborate. So it's just unfortunately the way it is. You'll have my email and Twitter handle after. So if you try following these steps and something doesn't work, you can let me know and I can help you later on. But I'll just show you the difference between them for now and how the basic functions. Okay, so I can access a Google Hangout one of two ways from hangouts.google.com. I can access a Google Hangout from within that chat there on the blue right, so I'm in a discussion with somebody already. I can go in there, or I could use the video call icon in the middle of the screen and go into a whole new video call that isn't connected to any Hangout. I'm going to switch the slide here. So if I was within a group, and I'm sorry about my forehead, I look a little bit like Kilroy in here. I was just trying to get a screenshot. If I clicked on the video call within a group, it pops up here, and you'll see that it says Jacqueline is unavailable at the top. That was my other ulterior personality. I couldn't answer myself on the same computer, and so I don't show up a little box on the bottom because I am talking to myself in a Google Hangout right here. But this is what it looks like when you come within a group. So I started a group, started this video call from within a group, and let's just take a look here. Down on the bottom left, there's a chat area. The other way, when you start a Hangout, there is no chat. Just to keep that in mind. So there's a chat when you start within a group. And there's a chat that we can have a chat while we're videoing. Makes it easy to send the link to somebody if you need to send them a link to something to look at. If I click up on the little people icon at the top right, I get the ability to send an email, put a Google address in here to invite somebody, or to copy the link and then to email it to them separately if I don't want to just send the email through my Google account there. And that's how I invite other people to our Google Hangout, even if they weren't in our group already. So if I wanted to bring someone else in, I can bring them in this way. So if I had started in a group with one or two colleagues, let's say it was a numeracy group of IRTs, and then all of a sudden we realized we needed a literacy perspective or a French perspective, we could invite another IRT to come and join us for our planning meeting or whatever. Okay, this is the chaotic one. So over on the right, you can see the wheel icon. If I click on the wheel icon, I get this general settings and bandwidth settings pop up. If I want to check and choose a lower level bandwidth, I can go over to the broadcast. And all you have to do is choose, there's 2 or 3 different options there, high end, low end. If you're noticing that you're getting really glitchy or your audio's cutting out, go try a lower bandwidth. It might be that your internet's a little bit wonky. The general settings that you can choose your camera. So mine on my Mac automatically chooses my camera from my computer. But if I had one plugged in, I could choose that one instead. I could choose a microphone if I had a microphone plugged in, or I can just use my default microphone on my computer. And the same with my speakers. I could use my regular speakers, or I could, if I had one plugged in, I could use it. And then I can hit the green done when I'm done. Just do that if you go into a Hangout and it didn't automatically grab the information you wanted. Along the bottom, I have a microphone. I have the little red hang up. That means leave the room. So only click on that call if you're done. And I have the video camera. If I want to turn my web camera off, and you can see over on the left-hand side, the line is through the video call, the video camera. If I click on it, that happens, and then you can see my screen goes black. So a lot of classes do that as they're getting ready. They wanted to test the connection. They're in the Google Hangout. Everything is good, but they leave it black until we're ready to start because there's chaos in the room. And the same with the mic. If the line goes through it, they know they're muted. If the line isn't through it, it's on. Their mic is on. So that's the basics. Those are really the only settings within a Hangout. Except for, of course, these settings. The three little dots at the top, the right-hand side, and there's that share screen. So if I was doing my Hangout and someone asked a question, I said, hey, I'll show you that web page. I can share my screen and go share it and come back. And I'll just show you quickly what that looks like. It comes up and it says, hey, we want to show, you can either choose this window right here and click on it or your entire screen, and you click the blue share button. And so that lets me share my screen as opposed to my camera. So it's a good way to, if you want to present a Google slide deck, you would open up your Google Slides in Google Chrome and then share your screen. Okay, so that was creating a Google Hangout from the top right where it's circled in red within the chat. That's if you're already within a chat group, a Google Hangout group with people. If you just want to start a Google call from fresh, then you hit video call. Google Hangouts appears to be going through a rebranding. Since we sent out the description for this session, they have released something called Google Meet. And Google Meet is showing up all over the place now. What it does is it makes Google Meet they've made it so that you don't need a Google account to join into a Google Meet, which is really just a Google Hangout without the chat. So if you join in usually in a Google Hangout, you have to have a Google account. It can be a personal account, it can be a school account, it doesn't matter. You just have to have an account to sign in. But if you're doing Google Meet, you don't need one. So let's just take a quick look at the differences here. So if I'm going to go to where the arrow is now. I'll be going to video call. So starting a fresh one, not from within a group. And it looks like this now. So they've already kind of merged the Hangouts and Meet, and I would assume that at some point in time it's all going to be called Meet, but I don't really know how they're going to differentiate between the two. But this is what happens now. And if someone has sent me an invite and they gave me a code, I can use my code, use the meeting code, and join in their meeting. But usually what you're doing is starting your own, well, not usually necessarily, but in this case, I'm starting a new meeting of my own. So I would click on the Start a New Meeting. And this is what I get. You see that link right there? meet.google.com/OWS-DSAD-IDR. And I can choose my microphone and camera on or off before I even enter the meeting, which is very helpful for teachers because sometimes if you jump into a classroom and your mic is blaring, what if we have a couple classes that join our Hangouts late every day because their bell doesn't ring until a certain time. Well, they come in, and if their mic is on, we hear them screaming and yelling as they're walking into the room. So you can mute your mic before starting the meeting is helpful. And you get that link right away. You can send that off to somebody if you want. But you click on Start Meeting once you're done setting up. And it asks you automatically, share this information with anyone who you want to join you. So you can send that to them. You just click copy, and then you fire it off to them. And then this is what it looks like. Only slightly different, but there's no chat. Everything else is pretty much the same. Instead of seeing windows across the bottom, at the top right you see a people window, and that's where people will show up. On the bottom left, you see meeting details, and that will give you a link to the meeting. In the bottom center, you see the microphone icon, the camera icon, and then the hang up or leave the call. The microphone with the line through it means if it turns red, it's muted, and the same with the camera. On the far right, you have the three dots, and you can go full screen, which just means bringing the Hangout to cover your entire screen, or you can go into more settings. And I'm just going to click to the next slide here. So there's what your meeting details looks like. If you click on meeting details, it just gives you that same link that you had before. There's that people window. If you click on the people window, if I wasn't talking to myself, you would see everyone's little thumbnails down here. But in this case, I'm talking to myself. If you click present, it asks you if you want to do your entire screen or just a window like your Google Chrome or your PowerPoint or your Microsoft Word or something specific, or your entire screen. And you can share that instead of your camera. And if you do share, it looks exactly the same as before. I'd ask you just, what do you want to share? And then it tells you, okay, you are now presenting to everyone. You can leave this window, go present, and then you come back here and hit stop screen sharing when you're done. Okay. And that's really the only difference about Google Hangouts from within a chat and starting one fresh. Does that make sense? Can I get a thumbs up if that kind of made some sense, or any questions you have? It's hard when we can't actually do it, but those are the difference between the entry points for both of them. If that makes sense, if you could just throw me off a kind of green check mark. It's kind of long, and I've been chatting and yammering on, sorry. I do want to get to the Google Hangouts on Air part, though. Perfect. All I can say for the Google Hangouts, the best way to do it, Google tools have a tendency to look a little different when you log in from different places or different situations. It isn't always like extremely consistent. So I would suggest just playing with Google Hangouts instead of having Hangouts with yourself like I did to get those screenshots. Get someone else in and have them just log in and just mess around and play with it until it starts to make some sense. You can't really do a whole lot wrong with the Google Hangout. And just play with it to get your mic working and to get your camera working and to practice muting and unmuting and that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay. Google Hangouts on Air. Google Hangouts on Air feel exactly like a Google Hangout when you're in it. But what it does is it gives you a big broadcast or go on air button in the middle of your Hangout. And the minute you push it, it takes whatever you're doing in your Hangout, it pushes it out to a YouTube channel that people can watch while you're still in your Hangout. It also records it all and gives you a YouTube video after of everything. So Google Hangouts on Air are still called Google Hangouts, but you don't start them from hangouts.google.com. You don't start them from that same place. They're actually now considered a YouTube product, part of their live streaming Google or YouTube Live products. So you actually start a Google Hangout on Air from YouTube. But before we do that, I want to show you or give you a link to look at. I want to give you 4 links to choose one from. Here are 4 different. I'm sorry, I'm just going to pause for 1 second. Okay, great questions up here. Can anyone create a Google Meet? Anyone can, with a Google account, can create a Google Meet. So you need that Google account to create the Google Meet. Anyone can join a Google Meet without a Hangout, without a Google account. To create the Google Meet, yes. Oh, a G Suite account. So it can't be a personal account, Allison? Is that what you're saying? It had to be like an actual board account? Okay, that makes sense. It was literally released like 3 weeks ago. And it was released first through Google Suite for sure. So the Hangout Meet part might be just right now for Google Education. That being said, from Google Hangouts, you can still start the Meet just by clicking on the video from there. In the App Store, there's a Hangouts and Hangouts Meet. Yeah, they are a little different. Most of what you're doing, if you're doing it through education, is Hangouts. But if someone sends you a Meet code, you might want to just use the Google Meets app and enter the code in, and then you can do it that way. So I've used both, and it's really kind of vague because when you click on it, it's really tough with Google right now, Google Hangouts and Google Meet, because Google Meet, yes, you can start it all from the Google Meet app or from the Google Meet site, but also when you're in the Hangouts and you click on live video, it takes you to Google Meet. So right now you probably need both for a little bit until they get sorted out. Tanya, how do you get a meeting code? If you're starting the meeting, then you create the meeting and you give the code to somebody, and it's the letters that come at the end of the link. If someone else starts the meet, they send you a code. So they would give you the code. They might email it to you or text it to you or whatever. Does that make sense? Okay. Does your Google Hangout session always turn into a YouTube video? Lauren, only if it is a Hangout on air, yes. If it's just a regular Hangout, it does not get recorded at all. So the ones I've shown you already, those were not recorded and never get saved anywhere. The one that showed you the step-by-step. The part I'm going to show you now, the Google Hangouts on air, is what gets recorded. It looks almost identical to a Google Hangout, except it has that little broadcast live part on it. Okay, I have put 4 links in there. Those are 4 examples of having something on YouTube opens up the class to a massive audience. Great question, Suzanne. For all of ours, we have student permissions. So we have media permission forms, and if students aren't allowed to be broadcast, or then they have to sit off and the teachers have to have them away from the camera. So we have 2 different permission forms for these things. One is to be broadcast, and the other is to post questions. And if you actually go, we have a website, I wasn't planning on doing this, but canadiancraft.com. This is this year's kind of collaboration that we're doing. And we have a sample media release form on there if you wanted to look at it. Sorry, okay. We're not going to have time to look at these 4 videos up at the top, but I do want to just tell you that they're there, and the links are in the slide deck that I am going to send to you in a couple seconds. And those are 4 examples. They'll be in the resources, thank you. Those are 4 examples of guest speakers that we did a Google Hangout on air with. We had Dr. Jeanette Corbier-Laval, who came in and talked with our students, Wabgeshig Rice. 104.1 The Doc is our local radio station in Midland. They did a whole series of Google Hangouts with a bunch of classes from within our board, and they taught them how to do a news summary, how to do, I don't even remember what we did. But then at the end, they did a tour. So he walked around with his laptop throughout the entire broadcast studio and interviewed all the different people on what they do in the business and at the radio station. It was fantastic. And Sean Johnson there we just had last week. So we use guest speakers and bring in like 10 or so classes, and then they ask questions. So those are some video examples from those sessions. Let me quickly run through how to set up a Google Hangouts on air. First of all, you start at that address right there, the youtube.com/myliveevents. We'll give this to you. It's in the resources, but that's where you start from. When you get there, it looks like this. Well, you might not have any events already. On the top right, it says New Live Event. That's what you're going for. I'll find that permission form in a second and get it for you. It's somewhere on that site. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go look for it. A new live event, and you type in the title of your live event, and you choose your timing for it, and so I usually do it right now, but you can set them for later as well. And then over under type, it has to be quick using Google Hangouts on air, and then you click Go Live Now. It says, are you sure you want to go live or do a Google Hangout on air? You sign your life away and say, okay. And then as you can see, it looks pretty much like a Google Hangout. I have my camera turned off in this case. And you can see at the top, I wanted to show you what muted mic looks like and camera turned off looks like. You've got your share button, just like in a Google Hangout. Everything is the same, even the settings, the little wheel, except you have a start broadcast and links over at the right. So let's just take a closer look. If I click on that share button, this is what I get. Here's a link to the Hangout, and if I give that link to somebody, so that, I'm just going to go back here again, see where the arrow's pointing to, the share. If I click on that, it gives you this link. And that link is what I share to people who I want to come into the Hangout. They're not going to watch from afar. They're coming right in to participate in the Hangout. Or I can send them an email invite. But that's what I send to all the classes that are participating in the Hangout, or to the people. The next one is the settings, the wheel. Again, I've got my camera, my microphone, and my speakers. I can choose those and hit save. Yep, I'll get you the media release. On the bottom right, we have that links button. This is what makes it different because of the Google Hangout on Air. If I click on that links button, I get these two links. I get a YouTube page and an embed code, which again, if you don't know what an embed code is, it means you don't need one yet. And if you just have that link to a YouTube page, that's what I send out to all of the central principals in our board. We tweet that out. We send that to a couple critical friends we know are helping us with a project. From there, they watch the Hangout. They don't participate in the Hangout. They just watch it as if they're watching a YouTube video, except it's live. So that's the difference between those two links. Just to show you again, at the top, you see the little person icon. That's where I get the link to share people to come and invite people into the Hangout. The bottom right is the links button. That's where I get the link for people to just watch at the YouTube. And then none of that starts going live to that YouTube page until I click that Start Broadcast, that big green button at the bottom. It takes a couple seconds to start. It counts you down. And then once you hit Start, everything's being pushed off to YouTube. And then I've put out some resources. I put on some resources on the slide here. So you guys throw in some questions. I'm gonna, while I'm either listening to people chat questions or type them in, I'm gonna go try and find that media release form example while you're typing in some questions there. So the Google Hangouts on Air will automatically, once you end the broadcast, so where you have Start Broadcast, you have Stop Broadcast after, and you can hit Stop Broadcast, and what it does is it takes you to, it dumps that video and puts it on YouTube, but you can set it, but you can go and make it unlisted or private if you want. It doesn't have to be, like you don't have to keep it public if that makes any sense. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions yet, so I'm going to keep digging for this media release that I know we put up. Here we go. Haha. I knew we had it here somewhere. Okay, here is, so this is just what our communication department and our department here helped us create as a permission form. And so we have kind of the two parts. We have the, for the permission form, we have the part to broadcast and to like media release part, and then we have the share or work online part to participate in the program. Kara, yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. So the video is definitely public while you're live, for sure. So we get people that are tweeting out, hey, you know, these guys are having this conversation about reconciliation. It's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And then once we're done, I can switch it to unlisted if there's a reason to, if we need to. So you could not share out your Hangout link. Technically, it's public on the web, but if you haven't shared that link to anyone, no one really knows it's there, generally. So that's another thing to consider. If you kept the video. Yep. Yep. Yeah, you can go back and watch it. We make ours public, so that's why we insist that the teachers know the very first time they start these Hangouts with us. So this is just for our Canadian craft. We put them all on air, mostly because we also have e-learning classes participating, and the students can't always participate in the Hangout and they want to watch it later. So we make them public right away. But when I'm just doing a Hangout with my class and Heather, I can never say her last name, Sajamir, I'm thinking about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, her science class did a survey around the world collecting data on their energy use. My math class needed data, and we had to do work on data. And so we grabbed their spreadsheet, we dug through and found some data and some information, and then they presented it back to the science class. We just did a regular Hangout, no Hangout on air, and our kids chatted back and forth. We didn't do anything, no recording of that one. For primary, lots of classes are doing, has anyone here heard of Mystery Skype? Where the teachers set up a Skype between two classes and they have to guess where they are. A lot of people are starting to do that with Hangouts now. Nice. So if you found a friend and you wanted, and they were in a different part of the, whether it be the province or the county or another school, another community, you could have them, your classes join up and they start asking questions of each other to try and get a feel for where they might be, and then they try and guess where that class is. So that's one possibility to integrate some geography into it. The other project is to have, if you find a way for your classes to teach each other something. What about you, Mally? Do you have any ideas to add to that? Mally's like the expert of all these things. It feels silly for me to be sitting here yammering away and she's in the same room.
You know, that's a good place to start is Mystery Skype, because then you could, I'll go and find a link for that, or Read Around the Planet, something like that, where there's a structured activity for the primary kids, and then you can use Google Hangouts or as the way to talk. So let me find Read Around the Planet and Mystery Skype. But I think we need to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Jacqueline is
sorry, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to send knowledge, but let me just go look for those two.
And while you do that, so after I gave Mally the link to the PowerPoint that we've been showing tonight, I added in all the links to all the videos. So I am just going to post that link in the chat right now. So there's a link to the slides that I was working off of, the Google Slides that has some of the video stuff in it. So if you want to grab that link, then you can you have all the videos and all the extra stuff in there. Oh, that project's fantastic. That is a great resource, Mally. Thank you. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. At the end of the slide deck somewhere, some more resources, is my contact info. Questions, Belinda? Yes. Do you want to grab the mic, or did I miss something? Okay, thank you. There's my contact info out there. Fire me off an email. Fire me off a tweet if you're a Twitter person, and yeah, make sure you read Jennifer's comment there about the global read aloud. That's fantastic. Give me a shout if once you dig into the Google Hangout something doesn't work, because it is really tough to show on an online session like this.
And you did a great job, Jack. Thanks, because it is there's a bit of a trick to it, but you can, once you get going, it's awesome. So thanks for all the information and another great session. You are the guru of Google for sure. So just a couple things in wrapping up. The first one is if you could please fill out this feedback form. This is the only live link in the presentation, so that you can click on that. The feedback form provides information to the ministry, who gives the funding for OTF Connects, and to OTF, and also to Jacqueline. But we know it was a great session. Actually, when you log out of, if you log out of this session, then it will take you directly to the link, and then we'll give you a link to download a certificate for your professional portfolio. There are just 4 sessions left for OTF Connects for this year, and then there will be some new and exciting things coming up for the summer. So please go and check the calendar, and please keep in touch with OTF Connects for some pretty exciting